Now, let's come to autotrophic mode of nutrition. In autotrophic mode of nutrition, in this term, auto means self and trophic means energy. It means it is a process of taking energy by self. For example, in case of some green plants and some photosynthetic bacteria, so we can see this mode of nutrition in green plants and photosynthetic bacteria, in which photosynthesis process takes place. In this process, plants and photosynthetic bacteria, they prepare their food by their own with the help of sunlight. Apart from sunlight, there are some raw materials present. For example, chlorophyll, some amount of water, now let's see the photosynthetic chemical equation. This chemical equation represents the process of photosynthesis. So this is 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, 12 molecules of water. When they combine and in the presence of chlorophyll pigment and sunlight, some products are formed. Those products are carbohydrate, that is C6H12O6 or starch, plus 6 molecules of oxygen and 6 molecules of water are formed. So here in this chemical equation, we can see that these two are the raw materials used by the plants to synthesize food, right? Along with these two raw materials, 2 more raw materials are there, which are chlorophyll and sunlight. So number 1, carbon dioxide, number 2, water, number 3, chlorophyll pigment, and number 4, sunlight. These are the raw materials used by the plants. Now, the products formed are carbohydrate, oxygen and water. And yes, one more important thing, that there is one more raw material used by the plants to synthesize their food. So that raw material is optimum temperature. There is a range of temperature, that is between 35 to 40 degrees Celsius. This range is the appropriate temperature range which is necessary to synthesize food for the plant or to carry out the process of photosynthesis by the plants. Now, come to the events formed or events occurring during the photosynthesis. Number 1 is the absorption of light by chlorophyll molecule or chlorophyll pigment. So, this absorption of light means the sunlight. The sunlight is absorbed by the chlorophyll molecule or chlorophyll pigment, which is responsible for giving green color to the plant. And this chlorophyll pigment basically traps the sunlight and it is present in the leaves and particularly in the mesophyll cells or the chloroplast. Second event is conversion of light energy to chemical energy and splitting of water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. It means the conversion of light energy. Again here the light energy is the sunlight. So the sunlight is converted into the chemical energy, and here the chemical energy means the byproducts or the products formed during the time of photosynthesis. Those products are carbohydrates and water molecules and carbon dioxide. So these three products are formed in the form of chemical energy and splitting of water molecules. So here we have seen that water molecule is evolved. Water molecule is evolved during the time of photosynthesis. So what happens next? The splitting of water molecules is involved, and splitting of water molecules is also known as photolysis of water. Photolysis of water. So here photo means light and lysis means to break down. It means the breakdown of the water molecules in the presence of light. So basically light helps in the breakdown of water molecules or splitting of water molecules. Now, the water molecules are splitted into hydrogen and oxygen. These two are the byproducts which are formed when the water molecules split. So I am writing here the chemical equation for this statement, that is H2O water. It breaks down into half oxygen plus H2. Now, next event, reduction of carbohydrate to carbohydrates. It means the carbon dioxide is reduced to form carbohydrates in the form of starch, and the chemical formula for carbohydrates is C6H12O6. Now, in this equation, we had seen that these molecules of carbon dioxide, they get reduced to form carbohydrate. So this is the third event which I had written there. Now it's the nature of both plants and animals to conserve some amount of energy for the future reference. So the carbohydrates are stored in the form of starch in case of the plants, and in case of the animals, the energy is stored in the form of glycogen. So as and when the energy is required in the future reference, so these are the reserved forms of energy which is used that time. Now come to the raw materials for photosynthesis in more detail. So raw materials used in the photosynthesis are: number 1, sunlight; number 2, temperature; number 3, chlorophyll; number 4, carbon dioxide; number 5, water. Now, the first raw material which is used by the plant to carry out the process of photosynthesis is the sunlight. So, sunlight is a main source of energy. The molecules like the chlorophyll molecule, which is present in the leaves of the plant, they trap sunlight or solar energy and carry out the process of photosynthesis to take place, or carry out the process of manufacturing of food in the form of carbohydrates for the plant. So, sunlight is required for the light reaction to take place. So, there are basically two mechanisms which are present or which occurs in the plant to carry out the process of photosynthesis. Those two mechanisms are: number 1, light reaction, and number 2, dark reaction. I am writing here the two mechanisms are light reaction and number 2, dark reactions. So it is written here that sunlight is needed or required to carry out the mechanism of light reaction for the plants. So, for light reactions, we have studied that light is required. But in case of the dark reactions, light is not required. But the products which are formed during this reaction, light reaction, but the products formed during the light reactions are used up to carry out the dark reactions. So, in dark reactions, light is not required. But yes, dark reactions are dependent on the products formed at the time of light reactions. Now, number 2, the second raw material used by the plants to carry out the process of photosynthesis is temperature. The rate of photosynthesis increases by the increase in temperature up to 40 degrees Celsius. But yes, I told you that 35 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius is the optimum temperature range or the appropriate temperature range within which the photosynthetic reaction occurs at great speed. As below this range, that is between 35 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius, below this range, the photosynthesis cannot be taken place. And above this range, the enzyme gets denatured, and as a result, the photosynthesis cannot be taken place above this temperature. That is, after this temperature range, 35 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius. So, this is the only optimum temperature range at which the photosynthesis can be taken place. Now, next raw material used by the plants to carry out the process of photosynthesis is chlorophyll. So, chlorophyll molecule or chlorophyll pigment is responsible to trap the solar energy so that it can be carried forward towards the product formed which is used by the plants as a source of energy, that is carbohydrates or starch. So, the green photosynthetic pigment, it is responsible for giving green color to the plant. So, it is used to absorb sunlight. Now, chlorophyll molecules convert light energy into chemical energy. Again, here light energy is the sunlight and chemical energy is the carbohydrate or starch. So, chlorophyll pigment is present in the leaves and particularly where? In leaves, some mesophyll cells are present and inside those cells, chloroplast is present. So, this chlorophyll pigment or molecule is present in the chloroplast. In chloroplast, chlorophyll pigment or the chlorophyll molecule is present. Now, let's see. Carbon dioxide. The plants get carbon dioxide through stomata, and stomata are the tiny structures present on the surface of leaves. So, stomata are responsible for the exchange of gases across the body surface of plants. So, there are many surfaces in a plant which carry out the exchange of gases. Those structures are leaves, stem and roots. But the massive amount or the large amount of gaseous exchange occurs through the surface of leaves by the help of stomata. So, let's see the structure of stomata. in the structure of stomata, if you could see, this is the epidermal cell. This is the stomatal pore. This is the nucleus. This is also nucleus. This is another nucleus. So the plural of nucleus is nuclei and singular it's nucleus. Now these are the guard cells present here. Now these are the subsidiary cells. Here chloroplast is present. So here the guard cells, as their name suggests, guard means those cells which protect the stomata cells. So guard cells, the function of guard cells is to give protection. And another function of the guard cells is to open and close the stomata. So basically they regulate the opening and closing of stomata. I'm writing here the function of guard cells. So basically the first function of guard cells is to give protection. Now another function of guard cells is to regulate the opening and closing of stomata. To regulate the opening and closing of stomata. Now, what all changes can we see in the structure of guard cells when the water comes inside and when it draws out? So, guard cells generally swell up when the water comes in, and when the water draws out, then guard cells become closed. The pore, this is the stomatal pore, it gets closed when the water draws out. So this is also the function of guard cell, that is to control the pore, stomatal pore. And yes, we can say that they help in regulating the opening and closing of stomata. This is the way how they do this. So basically the plants close the stomatal pore when there is no need for carbon dioxide by the plants. The guard cells swell up when water flows into them, causing the stomatal pore to open. So this is the image which shows this statement. So this is how the guard cells work. The guard cells become swallow when water comes in or water flows in. So as a result, the stomata open. So this is just similar to the case when suppose any of your friends or family members are about to arrive at your place. Then what happens? When they arrive, you open doors for them, right? And they come inside. This is how it is happening here. Like when water flows into them, causing the stomatal pore to open. So stomatal pore can be taken as an example, as I stated, that doors. And water here, the water, as per the example I have given. So water can be imagined as the guest. So whenever the guest comes, we open doors for them and they come inside. The stomata become closed and the guard cells become shrink. Now, another raw material is water. So water helps in uptake of minerals from the soil. It also helps to transport, and the water is transported to the leaves through xylem tissues in the plant. So there are basically two tissues, two conductive tissues present in the plants. Those are xylem and phloem. So uptaking of water is the job of this xylem. So not only the plant, so not only the water, some other compounds and minerals are also taken up by the plant. So those are nitrogen, potassium, iron, I am writing here the symbols here. So iron, potassium, nitrogen and magnesium also, that is Mg. So apart from them, it's important to study about this mineral, that is nitrogen. Nitrogen is used up by the plants in the form of nitrates and nitrites. Nitrates and nitrites. And yes, one important thing, that nitrogen is important for the plant to carry out the process of protein synthesis. For protein synthesis and some enzyme synthesis, the nitrogen is required by the plants. Now, organic compounds of nitrogen prepared by some bacteria are also taken up by the plants with water absorption. So here is the thing for this bacteria, So this is about the leguminous plants. Leguminous plants, for example, beans. In leguminous plants, their roots have some nodules in which bacteria are present, known as rhizobium bacteria. Those bacteria are present in the root nodules of the leguminous plants to capture or to fix the atmospheric nitrogen. Basically, these plants are unable to synthesize or to absorb the nitrogen in the readily available form. So bacteria help them to fix that atmospheric nitrogen in the readily available form for them.